Hi guys, welcome to another video. Now, depending on where you are in the world, we've all been in lockdown for kind of like 2 to 3 months, and in general just driving less. And by everyone driving less, naturally there are less claims being made and insurance companies are doing well out of it. So you'd think that, you know, if you're driving less and all that money you pay for insurance, it would only be fair to kind of have some sort of a refund for that period. Now in the UK it's been a bit of a mixed bag. As far as I'm aware, it's only Admiral that's kind of offered a flat rate refund to all its customers, and even then it's about £25. But if you're a young driver, anything below the age of 25, or if you've got a performance car, your insurance premium for the year is probably into the thousands, like mine is. So it's really not that much. However, going forward, what can you do to make your car insurance a bit cheaper when it next comes to your renewal? Stick around to find out. Right, I'm only driving to Tesco and it's not exactly a long journey, so I'm just going to jump straight into it. The very biggest thing that you can do, again, particularly if you're between the ages of 17 and 24, because it still works for me actually, add your mum or dad, or both of them, as named drivers onto your insurance policy. What I don't suggest doing is adding yourself onto their policy, because first off, that's illegal. It's known as fronting. Plus, you can't build up your own no claims bonus that way, and in the long run, you know, if you want something like a performance car, it's just going to hurt you for that. And just doing that will have the biggest difference on your insurance premium as a young driver, and even more so if you're young and going for a performance car. When I bought my C43 just keeping it absolutely everything the same, but adding my mum and dad as named drivers, knocked off £1,200 for 1 year's worth of insurance, which is mad. You know, I wish I did it straight away when I was 17 on my first car. Now, the science behind it is that if you add more drivers onto your policy, that's less time you're behind the wheel driving the car, is the assumption. And as a young driver, the assumption is that you're the worst driver. The next thing you want to do is actually be accurate with the amount of mileage you're going to do. As standard, people just put down like kind of 10,000, then drive like 5,000 for the year. You know, I used to always just put like kind of 12,000 down, but over the past 5-6 years that I've been driving, I've basically averaged about 8,000. So, you know, statistically I'm driving a third less, and although not as big as the first tip, it makes a little bit of a difference. Now, those two things are what, you know, they apply to everyone. Now, obviously, for some of the other things, everyone's personal circumstances, they're all different, like, you know, your job role and whatever. But it's interesting to know that certain professions are more desirable to insurers. For example, you know, if you're doing a medical degree of any sort, you know, medicine, dentistry, straight away your insurance premium's lower. I know this because my brother studied medicine and his insurance premiums are a lot lower than when I first started driving. We both had kind of similar cars. So what I'm not saying is don't just all of a sudden put down you're a doctor, because just don't be daft about it. But it's interesting to kind of know that some of the differences. Again, you know, if you're a student, the difference between kind of full-time, part-time, whether you're in undergrad or post-grad, again, actually does have make a difference. And whether you live at home or kind of live away for it. If you live away, they kind of assume, if you live away and you don't actually technically take your car there, they assume you drive less and therefore your premium's cheaper. And then the next thing applies for if you're in the hunt for a performance car. Now, if you are at a young age, then this could actually influence what car you go for, because certain cars are just a lot more expensive than others. When I was looking for my CLA45, that was actually cheaper than everything else that I was looking at. It was the cheapest out of RS3s, M2s, even cheaper than an S3. And that's because certain, you know, performance cars, generally hot hatches, so I'm talking about the S3 Golf R, they're involved in more accidents, they're stolen a lot more, and as a result, premiums for those cars are just higher than others. at the time the M2 had only just come out, and because there wasn't much data for insurance companies to look at, it was a safe car, and so that was the second cheapest after the CLA 45. In general, for me, again, it can vary from kind of area to area. The RS3 is the most expensive to insure in that kind of class. The S3 was pretty expensive for what it was, and so was the Golf R. So generally, you know, the rarer a particular car is, and the demographic that kind of drive it makes an impact on what your insurance premium will be. Again, and that impact will be even bigger if you're on the younger side. And lastly, do not be loyal to whoever your current insurance broker is. Always use something like Confused, Money Supermarket to shop around for the best quote, because honestly, loyalty doesn't actually, you don't get rewarded for it when it comes to insurance. If anything, sometimes they'll come back and when it comes to your renewal, they'll give you a more expensive price than kind of the year that you've just had, even though that you've become older, more experienced, another year's worth of no claims, which is what happened to my CLA 45 when I was reinsuring it for the second and third years. Now, touch wood, I've got 6 years worth of no claims bonus, not been involved in anything. But go with kind of like a reputable insurance company, because if something does happen, what are you doing? If something does happen, right, third time lucky. Oh wait, no. Fourth time lucky. If something does happen, if you don't go with a reputable insurance company, it can be a bit of a pain dealing with them. So, you know, I would stick to your, you know, if you've heard of them, then that's straight away, that's a good sign. But, you know, if you know, I'm talking your, you know, Admiral, Esure, LV, there's loads. Like with any product you buy, do a bit of research. If they have got loads of poor reviews when it comes to making claims and things like that, just pay, you know, it's not worth the hassle of what, £50-100 for a year. You know, if it's just not worth the hassle of messing about with them. Right, I'm basically at Tesco now, so I hope those tips prove to be of use to some of you guys that, you know, weren't sure on insurance and wondering why the heck your premium was so high when it doesn't need to be. Found it useful, do give this video a big thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel for future content, both around my C43 and general car tips and advice. As always guys, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.